Hello and welcome to UC Today. I'm Senior Editor Tom Wright, and today I'm joined by Jason and Justin from AudioCodes. How's it going, guys?
Very well, thanks.
Real good. Yeah. Good morning.
Cool. Well, thanks a lot for your time today. We're going to be discussing Teams migrations and some of the challenges around that. But before we start, would you mind giving us just a quick overview of your roles at AudioCodes, please?
Sure. So I'm a UC consultant at AudioCodes. I've been with AudioCodes for just over 4 years now. I've been in the IT industry for 25 years, and I'd say predominantly the last 10 has been around Microsoft UC solutions. So yeah, and I think I perhaps bring a little bit of a different background and knowledge to AudioCodes because I've not come from a pure telephony background.
Great. Justin Stevens, joined AudioCodes as a business development leader, as well as looking after marketing here in the U.S., although my background does come from consultation, consultative background, and also being a service manager of my own UC deployment for some time. So a lot of real-world experience I've been trying to bring from doing this as myself and then bring that out to help others. So glad to be here.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both for joining us. And as I said, we're going to be looking at Teams migration. And to start with, could you maybe talk us through some of the real challenges and the complexities that businesses are grappling with as they're looking to migrate? Perhaps, Jason, we could start with you.
Sure, Tom. In a way, I'm perhaps going to answer this like a bit of a politician, but I think all verticals in all markets, they have their own challenges. I think when you're a small, medium enterprise, maybe you've got the agility to be able to adopt it quite quickly. Because there are perhaps a fewer barriers. One of your perhaps key barriers might be user adoption. But when you look towards larger enterprises, especially those that are kind of geodiverse and they've got across multiple different geographies, there could be lots of things that then come into play, and that could include different platforms, different systems that are in place, the number of users that have got to be trained up and migrated across to Teams. Have they got any analog devices or any analog requirements that need to be thoroughly looked into and thought about, and how they're going to work going forward? Even the element of they might need some level of coexistence with their existing systems. I think lots of different organisations suffer from lots of different barriers to just taking on Teams straight away, and that's where obviously singing our own trumpet here, but we can step in and we can help. We can help them through that kind of process. And 9 times out of 10, I think we do have solutions for most of these problems and most of these challenges.
Yeah, I like to say the technical part is not the hard part when it comes to the migration. In fact, we've been running a number of series, Jason and I and some of our colleagues together, of helping bring some of that consultative nature and have that discussion of what is it you're trying to do on your journey. And the core blockers we actually find in a lot of these cases are, how do I present to my executive, right? And when I present this project plan upwards, I need a budget plan. So I need to know what are the bits and pieces that are going to go into this. I need a project plan. How long is this going to take? What does the migration look like? And I need that technical plan. So also bubbling up a bit of how is all this stuff going to connect, and how's it going to work together? What is that experience through that journey going to look like? So a lot of what we've been solving is kind of that roadmap of technical integration and making that simple, right? We're going to the cloud, and what are all these new terms I might be hearing about, and then what is the experience going to be for when we get there? So really kind of that building up that plan so we can actually tell our executives what is that experience going to look like at the end of the day? How much is it going to cost me, and how long does it take to get there?
Okay, and obviously AudioCodes is an expert in this space, and I think I might say you've devised a kind of 5-pillar approach to help businesses approach this migration. Justin, would you be able to perhaps talk us through that?
Yeah, so this 5-pillar kind of concept built on a lot of that consultative, these how will I kind of questions, and a number of these kind of conversations. And some of that was, how will I migrate, or how will I manage this new platform? And a lot of that centering around the time to production of, well, how long is this going to take for me to actually get to production? And when I do get there, how will I manage the platform, right? So we start to get these kinds of questions of, well, what's the skilling going to look like? How do I train up? how do I learn this platform? What types of tools will I need to run Teams as a platform? And what types of insights and what do I do with those alerts and tooling once I get there? And it's really a commonly, I guess, overlooked component, but as well as not just overlooked, but kind of one of those, I'm coming from Avaya, I'm coming from Cisco, I'm really worried, how am I going to have these skills for coming over? So that all impacts what we call as time to production. When we get past that layer, we start to look at things like purchasing. Again, not technical, but how will I turn off other platforms, but also save money over time? So we get into these ROI and TCO types of conversations. And that leads us into well, that's great, but how am I going to actually buy from you AudioCodes, or how am I going to buy this platform? But making that purchase predictable. And that leads us into a lot of what we're seeing now with the emergence of subscription-based pricing, right? As we move towards these price per seat types of models, a lot of that guesswork and how much is it going to cost, I need predictability in those cost curves. A lot of that starts to go away with providing that those entitlements, that price per seat types of models. Of course, we provide that with our live managed service, which is where we do that. It comes with all those entitlements. So that's helping drive quite a lot of that costing model, to go back to that initial conversation of how do we give the executives that budget plan? Well, that becomes real easy. Beyond that, you start to move into things like cloud scale and virtualization. So, right, how will I reduce my hardware footprint? How will I meet our cloud mandates? How will I meet the scale of our company? As well as that cloud mandate. And this is where I think in those early stages, that technical plan starts to become a bit difficult or fearful, right? Gosh, this sounds so complex. How am I ever going to get there? Well, it's actually quite easy when we start to look at virtualization of hardware like the SBC, virtualization of these integrations, and allowing these integrations to kind of seamlessly assistant in the migration plan. What I mean by that is we can plug into things like your Avaya, we can plug into things like your Cisco, but we can do that with a virtual appliance, and we really don't care where that appliance is hosted. It can be in Azure, it can be in our own virtual data center. We've seen some customers deploy that on site virtually, right, inside a VM. So virtualization takes on that ability to meet that cloud scale. As I mentioned in the beginning there, kind of the closing pillars, reporting and operational aspects. We're going to own this thing at the end of this journey. How are we going to meet service management expectations? What are the service level expectations? And more importantly, how are we going to report on those expectations? So there's a lot of how will I kind of questions that then start to focus in on reporting, and then management or operations of that reporting. What we find in a lot of those cases, the reports are there, but there's a certain level of talent or time on job that allows us to learn how to consume those reports and become experts at those reports, and use that in a way that we can kind of take that first time right approach or really become more proactive. So that's kind of some of the basics of the pillars. I'm not sure, Jason, if you have kind of other thoughts on that as we've worked through some of our prior workshops.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the five key pillars document, I think is massively informative. I really think it is, but I think there's elements to it that could actually be a little bit overwhelming when you go down into the different pillars and you read through the detail. And you kind of encroached on a point there, Justin, which is obviously AudioCodes Live. And, whether through one of our partners or from AudioCodes directly, AudioCodes Live in its simplest form will take each of those different pillars where we can then deliver out the solution and alleviate a lot of those concerns, a lot of those nightmares, a lot of those headaches that an organization might have. And especially when they're looking at the OPEX model as opposed to the CAPEX, again, AudioCodes Live it falls into, the same kind of mentality, that predictable pay per user per month. And any organization can go to liveteams.audiocodes.com and see the different products. It comes in 3 different flavors: Essentials, Pro, and Premium. And it really depends on how hands-on or hands-off they want to be. But like I said, we can actually look at each of these pillars and alleviate those issues. And it doesn't need to be a daunting process.
Okay, so I'm sure there will be some companies out there that are quite far along this journey and feel kind of quite comfortable with where they are. But then on the other hand, I'm sure there are some who are just started, find it quite daunting, don't really know who to speak to, where they should go. So where can they go for advice, and what resources are there out there to kind of help them start and go through this journey?
Okay, so initially, obviously, they're bound to have gone to the Microsoft website and they've bound to pulled up a lot of information from Microsoft. There is a lot out there. However, if you come to the AudioCodes website, I mean, we've got so many white papers on, know before you go, looking at the people factor and understanding how your individuals are going to react within your organization to this change in technology, being given something new that's going to upset their daily work schedule, things like how to make a proof of concept or a pilot a success. There's a whole plethora of white papers that you can get from the AudioCodes website that are supposed to, or meant to be thought leadership. They're not sales. They're not sales driven where we're saying, look, here's the problem. Oh, great. We've got the solution. What we're saying is, this is how you make this a success. This is what you need to consider, like environmental awareness, network readiness, and how you assess your own network. So we've done a lot of that work. But then something else that Justin is the brainchild for is Launchpad. And this is a series of workshops whereby, it's funded by us. There's no cost to a customer. They can come along and they can cherry pick the different sessions they want to do. And, that's going to help them with their knowledge in any kind of areas that they kind of maybe, certain concerns with. And that might be, when it comes to user adoption or analog or legacy integration, they can just, bolster their knowledge by attending those sessions. I mean, Justin, it's your brainchild, so you tell us more about it.
Yeah, I guess from the Launchpad perspective, right? We what we wanted to do was take the one-to-one types of workshops we'd traditionally done and help customers that were maybe a little bit earlier in their journey, right? There's some general hesitation or some general technical aspects or kind of challenges that they're faced with. If I just need a few little answers to get me jump started. So we kind of said, let's package up as best as we can these workshop efforts we've traditionally held over maybe a 2-day one-to-one manner and try and bring that to a larger audience and do that in a way that's very interactive, but also hits on those core topics, right? So we kind of said, help me construct my reason why and help me tie that back to my business plan. Help me then take that business plan to then articulate or build up my technical plan, right? What are now my requirements? That technical plan then drives user adoption and the user experience or your device's requirements. And then we move into some of the higher level aspects of, well, some people want to talk a little bit more about network redundancy, certainly a caution with the cloud of how do I make sure I have the resiliency I'm looking for, that's a core topic. Lots of analog out there, probably I like to say most underserved topic because it's not cool, but it's with every deployment we're talking to, whether it's hundreds of lines and some, we had one the other day, it was almost 4,000 analog lines. It's out there, it's in density, and we're not talking about it. And of course, the operational aspects of owning it. So it all starts to kind of tie into how can we consultatively build a discussion that helps everyone move a little bit further in their journey. So like you said, some of them maybe their POCs turned on, maybe they have their first couple hundred seats of voice turned on, but they're still kind of scratching their head of what am I supposed to do with this analog thing? Or in some cases, we've exposed maybe some more complex topics of what am I going to do with my fax? Again, not a cool topic when it comes to moving to cloud, but if I have that cloud mandate, I have to address things like fax, maybe security or 911 services, a little more popular here in the States. Others of them call recording or my call center integration. So there's all these kind of things that append to the deployment that we've found we really have to talk about and solution around to give confidence that, yes, we can move and make this migration.
So, I mean, just to add to that, Justin, I think you and I, it's actually taken us by surprise how successful the Launchpad series has actually been. It's been beyond, because we aimed to do, I think it was initially four series of 6 sessions. to try and have groups of between 15 and 30 individuals attending these courses. But we were so massively oversubscribed in the US. I mean, it was just, we were turning people away because we just didn't have, the room to cater for all these people. So we've now extended the series in the US, and that's going to continue, from sort of September onwards. But we're now also going to Launchpad into EMEA, and we're going to do it in English, French, and German. So covering the bulk of kind of the EMEA region, and that will start hopefully between the mid to late September.
Okay, well, we'll certainly look forward to seeing that in Europe. Thank you both for your time today. It's been a very useful and informative session, I think.
Hey, you're welcome.
You bet, Tom. Thanks for the time.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. If you enjoyed this session, as ever, please give us a like and a share on social media, and we'll see you next time.